Okay guys, I am feeling much better today. So in this lecture and a little bit about myself, how did I come to this knowledge? Why am I teaching this now? I'm just gonna preface this, really quickly roll through it. I was a huge nerd in school. So what did I do instead of going out and partying and, the regular stuff that you do all throughout school and high school and university? I basically read. I loved books. Books were my solace. And what I'm doing now is basically giving the culmination of all of the years of collective thoughts and versions and the things that I like to read about or I loved reading about, and kind of putting it into this semblance of some lessons. Another fun fact about myself, I own colleges and medical centers. I have put together over 105 programs in Canada in our colleges. And so what do I love to do? I love to teach. So I've been a teacher for many years. This is more fun stuff in terms of what I'm going to teach. And so let's jump right into the lesson, but that's a little bit of a backstory on me and why I feel like I'm qualified to teach some of this fun, exciting, historical, scientific kind of stuff. So in this lesson, the correlation, what I'm going to be teaching about is the correlation between numerology, the natural order of things, atomic functions in terms of matter and structure, and esoteric teachings, historical teaching, and how it applies to the cosmic realm. Okay? So the language of numbers, and I'm actually going to refer back to specifically the Bible in terms of esoteric texts, and I will touch on other different things, but this is sort of what I'm going to circle back to. The reason that I'm utilizing the Bible, it is the most widely read book across the globe. So a lot of people will see and look for explanations. And of course, part of my journey here on planet Earth is to teach unity, love, and specifically unconditional love. So the language of numbers, whether we're talking about science, mathematics, or the Bible, is deeply symbolic, conveying spiritual principles that resonate not only within human consciousness, but also in the physical, the atomic, and the cosmic worlds. So the numbers that we're going to be looking into today are numbers 1, 3, 7, 12, and 40. And the reason that I picked these numbers is that there are multiple representations of these specific numbers throughout the Bible. And I'm going to go into some of the meanings and why these numbers may have been encoded into this doctrine. Again, food for thought, things for you to mull around in your own consciousness. I am not trying to degrade anybody's thought system. I am simply offering some possible encoded explanations as to why these numbers may have been used, okay? Again, they were featured predominantly in the biblical texts, mirroring patterns and structures that we observe in nature, in the universe, and in the quantum realm. This is why I love these correlations so very deeply. And what these correlations suggest is a universal language that links divine order described in scripture to the physical laws governing existence itself. By exploring these connections, we gain an insight into divine patterns that represent or are represented in this biblical numerology, manifested in all of the layers of creation that we see around us, from the atomic structure of matter, the vast cosmos, the mysteries of reality, and of course, quantum mechanics. Again, I'm going to say in this video, I am in a very hot tropical country, and so a lot of times I'm dressed in my bathing suit. That is just part of my existence. So judge if you like, and my suggestion is just listen to the lesson and peace on all of those things. This is just who I am at this stage of the game in my life. I care not what people think. I am simply here to teach and to guide and to give you the wisdom that I have. So let's roll right into this. Number one for me represents unity. the unity of the universe and quantum mechanics. In biblical numerology, the number 1 symbolizes oneness, unity, and all creation under divine law. This principle of unity is echoed in both the physical and the quantum realms. The universe is a unified whole. Modern physics points to the interconnectedness of the universe, where matter and energy are inseparable, and everything is governed by a unified field of laws. Einstein's equation, E = mc squared, illustrates this unity, showing that mass and energy are interchangeable aspects of the same reality. Now let's talk about the quantum field. In quantum mechanics, the concept of the unified quantum field reflects the idea that all particles are interconnected through a fundamental energy field. The wave-particle duality, where particles, like photons, behave both as waves and particles, further demonstrating the oneness of nature at all levels of creation. So, the Bible refers to God as the I am, or the singularity, okay, that unified aspect, resonant within this universal unity, suggesting that all existence, everything that we know, emanates from a single divine source. So that is why I love and why I'm teaching specifically in this little mini lecture about the numerological significance of the number 1 and how we can have a different version or vision of what the number 1 may symbolize in terms of esoteric teachings and esoteric texts. Okay, we're gonna roll right into the number 3. This is one of my personally favorite numbers. It has always followed me everywhere that I've went. My current head office is located at 3333, and there is a multitude of 3s in terms of the building structure. It's 3,033, 333 square feet. Lots of other 3s in my life. I'm not going to go into all of them, but again, 3 is a number that I love. So let's look at the Trinity and the triadic nature of matter, as well as how we see 3 as a very, very important number in terms of esoteric biblical texts. So we all know the idea of the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, something that is mentioned continually in the Bible. Basically, 3 represents divine completeness. I just said the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. In the natural and physical world, the triadic structures is also a reoccurrent theme. States of matter, for example, we have the primary states of solid, liquid, and gas. This triad reflects the transformative nature of creation, the fact that creation is fluid and can move from state to state, as all matter can transition between these states under the right conditions. Now, the atomic world, let's look at the atomic world. The atom, the building blocks of matter itself, consists of 3 fundamental particles. We've got protons, we've got neutrons, and of course we have electrons. So the Trinity also governs this realm. And again, all matter in terms of universal structure. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit as well about the number 3 in the cosmic triad. As astrophysicists, we can also look at life in the cycle of stars and how it follows a triadic pattern. So when we look at the formation of stars, the nebula, okay, this is the stage where the star is forming. Then we have life of the star itself, the main sequence of that representation, or what we see is that bright, brilliant star. And then we have the death of the star, okay? So again, the 3 stages, and What do we see at the stage of a star when it is in its last and final phase? It can become a white dwarf, it can become a neutron star, or it can become a black hole. And this cycle also echoes the spiritual principles of creation, sustenance, and renewal found in the Trinity. Now, I have another lecture that I'm going to be discussing in terms of the Big Bang and my theories on black holes, which I am very excited to film as well. So definitely look for that lecture up and coming. Now, another of my favorite numbers, the number 7, perfection in nature and universal cycles. We see the number 7 continually in terms of nature and throughout esoteric texts. So let's just look at a little bit of what we see in terms of this mirroring and what the number 7 might actually signify. Okay, so perfection and completion in the Bible. We see the 7 days of creation. Okay, this is part of the creation story. The sacred number also frequently appears in natural and cosmic systems. So let's look at the light spectrum. I know one of the courses that we teach in the colleges is a laser technician course, and the visible light spectrum is one of the most important aspects of that course, understanding how light actually works, the science of light. Okay, so if we look at that visible light spectrum, light, the fundamental energy of the universe, splits into 7 distinct colors. In other books, we call these the 7 rays. And again, I will be talking about some of those other texts as well. But when we look at these distinct colors, when refracted, we get red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. These colors form the base of the natural world's beauty and diversity. Let's also look at the periodic table of elements. It is organized into cycles of 7, with each row or each period reflecting a complete set of properties before its next cycle begins. This pattern illustrates the harmony and completeness of the atomic world. Now, the other thing, or another comparison that we can draw is in terms of harmonics, the 7 notes on a scale. Cosmic rhythms. The moon completes its phases in approximately 28 days, divided into 4 cycles of 7 days each. These lunar rhythms influence the tides, the ecosystems, and even the human biology, echoing the sacred order of the numerology of 7. And just to round that last little lecture off, I wanted to also circle back or cycle back to where we actually see the number 7 demonstrated in the Bible. So we have the 7 days of creation. I know I mentioned that before. We also see the book of Revelations talking about the 7 churches, the 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, the 7 bowls. So again, making sure that I'm bouncing it back to the actual text. Now, all right, I'm gonna roll right into, hold on one second, I'm bouncing around here a little bit. Okay, number 12, another one of my very favorite numbers. This number 12 represents cosmic balance and universal order. So it is also, of course, the stages of conscious evolution and the zodiac, among other things. We're going to roll right into how we see the mirroring between some esoteric texts and the actual natural structure of the world. So, of course, we have the representation of the 12 disciples in the Bible. I truly believe that these 12 disciples represent the zodiac and represent the stages of consciousness as it moves through the stages to enlightenment. I have another lecture coming up about that where I'm going to be teaching that in a lot more great detail so that you can see what I'm actually talking about, and I use some evidence to back up what I'm saying. I always like to teach with something that is based in evidence or based in something that you can actually really sink your teeth into, rather than just saying something. Okay, I rather teach than preach. It's not about necessarily what I think. I want to give you things that you can actually sort of patch test and see if it fits in terms of your own ideology. Okay, so of course the number 12, the zodiac. The division of the sky into 12 zodiac signs reflects the ancient understanding of cosmic order. These signs govern celestial patterns that have been tracked throughout time to understand human connection to our cosmos and to our own phases and stages of our own human consciousness. Now, human biology. The human itself contains 12 cranial nerves. Again, another actual biological comparison here to the number 12. And these are essential for our motor functions. This alignment of structures and purpose within the human body mirrors divine order, suggested that the number 12 has a deep significance in terms of creation. Now let's look at galactic structures. Many spiral galaxies, including the Milky Way, exhibit patterns of 12 arms or divisions in their star clusters, reflecting a cosmic harmony that aligns with the spiritual, or yet another spiritual, significance of the number 12. Okay, we're going to roll into another number, the number 40. And 40 represents transformation in time and space. In the Bible, the number 40 often symbolizes periods of trials, testing, and transformation, which I'm going to go into a few of the stories, but truly it is a number that is related to the transformation of consciousness and the transformation of the self. Okay, so another transformational correlation in terms of the biological world would be the 40 approximate weeks. That is the gestation period in terms of human biology for pregnancy. Okay, and that is the time that it takes for the life to form and emerge, another transformation occurring. Things like planetary cycles, several planetary orbits, and cosmic phenomena align with the periods of, or this period of transformation as well. For instance, an example of this, the Venus transition through its phases takes approximately 40 days, mirroring the cycle of renewal in its nature. Now, cosmic evolution. Stars undergo transformation over millions of years, but key phases of change, such as supernova explosions or planetary nebula formations, often follow predictable timeframes that align with the principle and transformations that is symbolized by 40. Okay, so then I'm just going to circle back to a couple more of these examples of where the biblical texts are asking us to pay attention to the numerology of 40. So of course I talked about the flood of, and the story of Noah and the ark, where it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. This is again an example of a trial and transformation of the landscape and renewal. Okay, that's the basis of that story. We also see Moses' 40 years in Egypt, 40 years in the desert, before being called to lead Israel out of bondage. Moses, 40 days on Mount Sinai. Twice this happened. Again, periods of transformation. There are many, many more uses of the number 40 in this esoteric text. But what I also want to draw your attention to in terms of classical psychology, or when we look at our own consciousness. Now, when we look at studies that have been done, it can say anywhere from 21 days up to, 66 days in terms of transforming and something becoming habitual. But if we look at this rule of 40, 40 days of a practiced, transformational, desired result that we want to create. 40 is a very good number in terms of having something become ingrained and habitual. Again, bringing it back to that transformational aspect. So I think what the text is really trying to show us through these stories is the fact that if we are diligent to our own transformation and to understanding the cycles and phases of our own learning, that when we apply diligence to this 40-day principle, to our trials and to our preparations and our dedication to elevating our own consciousness within the construct of awakening and enlightenment, that it's a roadmap. It is the code within the code that is steering us towards that higher state of being. So again, I hope you enjoyed this little mini lecture about some of the numerological aspects of how the Bible teaches through code. Now, I know not everyone is going to agree with me, but I do want to highlight the fact that the way in which I am teaching this is completely nonviolent. There is nothing about the way that I'm teaching this esoteric text that would incite violence against another, that would say that one people or one set of groups, one tribe, one nation is better than the other. I am teaching this from a principle of the self. So what can we gain through the understanding of these set of stories, this collection of teachings, and how can we apply it to our own journey towards enlightenment? And like you will see with every one of these lessons, that when we apply it to the self, rather when we take it as introspection instead of projection, it becomes very gentle. The teaching actually becomes very beautiful and a unifying teaching instead of a teaching for judgment, separation, condemnation, and violence against any other. So I'm going to wrap this particular lesson up, and again, I'm going to go more, the next lesson that I'm going to start teaching, or that I'm going to bring to the table of discussion, is going to be about the 12 zodiac signs. Now, of course, it kind of cycles into this teaching of the number 12 and its significance, but I really want to delve into each zodiac sign and what it can mean in terms of the cycle of completion of the consciousness. So stay tuned for that episode, and we hope to see you. Cheers.